Hello family, my name's Phineapoo and welcome to the first Phineapoo Phorsees. Anyway, what we are doing tonight, I guess, is we are going to be starting the NFL predictions. And what that foretells is me, well, I guess with the exception of week one, telling you what last week's results were, and also going through the fantasy football league that I've established, and letting you guys know how you did last week, and then also going through what will be coming up this week for games and predicting what will happen in those games, who will win, what the final score will be, etc. So, without further ado, welcome to Phineapoo Foresees. So, here we go. We'll start right off the bat with what happened. I missed it. I missed the start of the NFL season. I thought it was going to be this Sunday. I totally forgot about Thursday night football. And what we've got is the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. I'm actually going to be putting on my glasses here because I want to be able to read some of the things that I've got on screen. I've got some of the information about the games on the screen so that I can actually kind of tell you what's going on. These glasses are super dirty. So I might just have to squint. Just remind myself to clean it next time, right? So we'll go ahead and just set those there. So the final score of the game is with the rematch of the Super Bowl. Denver won 21-20. Cam Newton had 194 yards passing and one touchdown, whereas Denver, their quarterback T. Seaman. That's what it looks like from far away. Had 178 yards passing and one touchdown. Denver Broncos pull away with a 1-point win in the 21-20 game. I believe, if I remember correctly, Carolina had a pretty decent lead and then blew it and lost to the Broncos in the fourth quarter, if I remember correctly. But now we're coming up to all the games coming up on Sunday and Monday. So I guess later today. So what we've got, I'm pushing through my sore throat right now, trying to keep my voice and attitude up here right now. What we've got, first game of the season for both Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. They'll be going up against each other, Tampa Bay at the Atlanta Falcons. The past few matchups have been pretty interesting, with the Buccaneers taking the last two. But in my personal opinion, I think the Falcons have a little bit better base team this year than the Buccaneers, just from what I've been able to briefly read before starting this prediction. I haven't really gone into that much depth, unfortunately, this season as of yet, but we will be going into more depth the further we get into the season, especially during the playoffs. The playoffs will be a fun time. But right now we've got the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I believe, personally, the Atlanta Falcons have this game, but not by much. My prediction is going to be similar to that of the past 2 years, being a very close matchup of within 4 points. So I'm going to say the final score will be 24-20 Falcons. That is my prediction for the first game. Next up, we've got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Tennessee Titans. And that one's going to be an interesting matchup. I'm personally biased to Marcus Mariota as the quarterback. I think he's the Titans, if I remember correctly. I personally have a bias. He's on my fantasy team, and both my fantasy teams. I'm a big Marcus Mariota fan. Did great work at the University of Oregon. Was a great quarterback, held the team together. And that's what I think he can do with the Titans. And personally, I don't think even with Adrian Peterson in the Vikings, I don't think that much is going to come of it. I think the Tennessee Titans have a pretty good hold of this game. I'd say by at least one touchdown. My final prediction there is going to be 23-17 Titans. So that's my prediction with the Vikings at the Titans. Next up is the Cleveland Browns at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this is interesting as the Eagles have just lost their head coach to the 49ers. But the Browns, they're the Browns. They stink. Let's be honest here. They stink. And so I'd say the Eagles, even though they've lost their head coach and have a new head coach coming in, even in the interim, I still think that with good enough leadership, that the Eagles have this pretty heftily. I'd say by at least a couple of touchdowns, maybe even 17 points here. I'm going to say it's going to be a pretty much a shutout game or a very high-scoring game for the Eagles. I'm going to say final score is going to be 27-10 Eagles. That is my prediction. Lots of home team wins so far, in my opinion. Next up, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the New York Jets. Now, in the past few years, with the exception of last year, the Bengals have held their own in their games against the Jets in the last few matchups. That's what I think is going to happen again this time. Is I think the Bengals have it pretty well, but I think it's that the Jets are going to be pulling in pretty close, as they are a decent program. I think the Bengals will still have it, but only by about a field goal or two. So my prediction in the final score of this is it's going to be a very low-scoring game. It's going to be all about defense. My prediction is the final score is going to be 13-10 Bengals. Next up is the Oakland Raiders at the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints have walked all over the Raiders in the last few times around. Plus, with their leadership and their, I guess, their constant winning streaks that they go on, their constant winning records that they have. Whereas the Oakland Raiders, they're up and down all the way. So my personal opinion is that the Saints have this one pretty well in hand and will have it pretty well in hand for a long time to come. So my thought is that the New Orleans Saints will win this one by at least a couple touchdowns. I think it's going to be a relatively high-scoring game, though. I think Derek Carr does a very good job at quarterback for the Raiders and will keep it relatively tight until about the fourth quarter. So my prediction for this is it's going to be 35-24 New Orleans Saints. That's going to be my prediction. Next up is San Diego Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is one of those where you've got two crappy teams, with the exception of like last season where the Chiefs actually did pretty darn good. So, I personally don't like either of these teams. In my opinion, they both stink. But my opinion aside, I'm trying to put this based off of facts and what I know about both teams, which is not much because I don't like them. But putting what I know about these two teams, the leadership of the Chiefs in recent years has been decent. And they actually do have worked, and they're starting to get their way out of their losing ways with a pretty darn good season, if I remember, like last season. Or the season before that. I can't remember which one it was. But with this matchup, I can see Kansas City taking this one pretty easily because the Chargers are Chargers, similar to the Browns. So my thought is that Kansas City Chiefs are going to walk all over the Chargers pretty easily. I'm going to say final score is going to be 28-7 Chiefs. Next up, we've got the Buffalo Bills at the Baltimore Ravens. Now, for me, living in Baltimore the past couple of years, even though I am a Steelers fan, I still have to say, the Ravens are a good team. Now, granted, when with LaShawn McCoy at the Buffalo Bills, you've got such an elusive running back. The Ravens are going to have to do pretty good on their defense in order to take down the likes of LaShawn McCoy with his elusiveness. My thought is that the Ravens will keep it close, but will suffer a devastating loss in this first game. They will recover, though, I believe, later in the season, but I don't think they will win this first game. I think it's going to be the Buffalo Bills taking it by only a field goal, final score being 22-19. I don't know why I even said that. That's kind of a random number, but I'm going to say it's 22-19 is the final score there. Next up, we've got the Chicago Bears at the Houston Texans. Now, the Texans are a relatively newer team to Texas. My thought is they don't really stand too much of a chance against an older team such as the Chicago Bears. And by older team, I mean like one that's been around longer. Um, I don't necessarily mean that age-wise in the players, because I'm not sure the age of the players. I don't go that into depth. Sorry, I'm not that much into football. But my thought is that the Chicago Bears will take this, even though the Texans have held their own in the past couple matchups. So my thought is the Chicago Bears will take it, not by much. It will be close. It'll be a 1-point game, similar to how the Super Bowl rematch was between the Broncos and the Patriots. I'm going to say final score, or not Patriots, you know what I mean, Panthers. Final score will be the same, 21-20, but the Bears taking it over the Texans. Next up is the Green Bay Packers against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That should be a very interesting matchup. I can see, the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers taking it pretty well to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um, the last few matchups have been relatively close, like within a touchdown or so. But I think this one's going to be within 10 points. I'm going to say 10-point matchup between this one. I think that the Packers do have this matchup, and that they're going to overturn the Jaguars in the third quarter after kind of slipping a little bit in the first couple quarters. So I'm going to say the Packers do have it with a good second half takeover, with the Packers taking it about, I'm going to say 24-14 as the final score. Next up, we've got the Miami Dolphins versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Dolphins at the Seahawks. The Seahawks have been a pretty good team the past few years, with their first Super Bowl win and another Super Bowl appearance coming within the last 3 years. Two out of the 3 years, I think, is what it's been that they've shown their face in the Super Bowl. So they're riding a hot streak, but with the loss of Marshawn Lynch, I think that they're going to be struggling in the running back position. So they're going to have to go to the air assault. I don't know how the Miami Dolphins defense is, but if they even step up the least little bit and block it, I think that Seattle's going to have some running back issues, and they're not going to be able to run the ball as effectively as they want to. And that will end up in being a defensive battle if that is the case. And that's what I'm going to go with, is that it's going to be a defensive battle. And we're going to be looking at Miami Dolphins taking it off a stellar defensive performance, 7-3. It's going to be a low-scoring game, is my prediction. I could be dead wrong, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. We got New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of hate towards the Dallas Cowboys I've noticed on my Facebook page, probably because the Cowboys actually suck. If you look at their record, I'm pretty sure they're a perfect 500. They lose the same amount of games they win. And the Giants are the Giants. They're they're back and forth. But all the matchups in the last 3 years have been very close. And, both teams are pretty well evenly matched. I'm going to say this is going to be one of those games that will go overtime. I actually see this game going overtime and having it come down to a field goal being made. My thought is that will be won by the Giants. The Giants will win this coin toss, and they'll march down the field, and they'll either make the field goal and then get a defensive stop, or they'll make a touchdown. I'm not 100% sure. Well, I'm going to go with the field goal on this one. I'm going to go with the field goal, and then they get with a defensive stop, and they stop the Cowboys. Or did the rules change? I can't remember. I can't remember how the overtime rules go. It's been too long since I've watched pro football. It's been since the end of last season. Rest in peace. So I'll have to refresh myself on overtime rules. I always have to wait for ESPN to tell me, these are the overtime rules and stuff like that. And I'm always grateful for that because I need the reminder. But I'm going to go with a 3-point win, nonetheless, in overtime, with the New York Giants taking it 30-27 is my prediction. Next is the Detroit Lions taking on the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. So this one's going to be interesting since it is sort of a rivalry match. They're pretty close, and there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of headbutting there. I'm going to say that there's going to be a lot of furious tackling. We'll put it that way. It's going to be a very much defensive matchup, which I actually think that because of that defensive flurry that's going to be going on for the Lions, I'm going to say the Lions are going to win it, but not by much. I'm going to say they're going to win it by 2. It's going to be a final score of 21-19 is my prediction. 21-19. Next up is the New England Patriots taking on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. This one will be very interesting. Larry Fitzgerald is a very good wide receiver. He will make his mark in this game, and I don't think with the loss of Brady for the Patriots are going to struggle because Tom Brady has to carry the team on his back. That's right, I said it. Worst quarterback of all time. Anyway, Arizona's going to have this one pretty much in the bag. This is pretty much a gimme for the first game of the season. I'm going to say that Arizona wins this one very easily with a score of 35-14. It's going to be a blowout win by the Cardinals. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers take on Washington Redskins in D.C. My thought on this one's going to be very interesting. The Steelers in recent years have been kind of even though they have been one of the highest Super Bowl winning teams of all time. The Washington Redskins have been hot and cold over time. My personal thought on this one is that if the Steelers stick to their guns, stick to their game plan, they'll be able to win this one. But if they slip at all, which I actually think they will, this is a Monday night game, by the way, the first Monday night game. I have a feeling that the Redskins will win this one, but not by much. Again, it will be a 3-point field goal matchup with a game-winning drive by the Redskins in the fourth quarter. And then they'll chew out the clock and kick the field goal at the last second. My thought is Redskins win this one over the Steelers. I will say the final score being 24-21. In the last matchup, this feels so weird to say, the Los Angeles Rams. I don't want to say St. Louis, but it's Los Angeles Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco. This is going to be a California matchup. This is the first game for Los Angeles during the regular season that they're actually going to have as officially the Los Angeles Rams. So it should be interesting. This will be a developing rivalry, I'm sure. Now that they're a lot closer, there's going to be shouts of beat LA, I'm sure, in the 49ers stadium. And there's going to be a lot of heated discussion with the new coach, Chip Kelly, coming into the 49ers, and with all the debate about Colin Kaepernick and that team and everything like that. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this game. And I will actually leave this as the fan pick prediction. Leave me everything in the comments section down below. What do you think the final score of this game will be? Be interested to know what you guys think, and that will be part of the fan picked record. I will keep track of all this. I will go back and listen to my predictions and put them down. I won't go necessarily into as much detail about scores and everything like that, but if I do pick the winners and the losers, I will put that in my record for the next time and let you know how I did. But that is Phineapoo predicts, or should I say Phineapoo Phorsees. And we will leave that here. Kind of an update. I do want to update you guys on what the fantasy games are doing right now. The fantasy games are going very well. A lot closer matchups than I would have initially thought. You guys did a very good job on the plays and everything like that so far. Let me go to the scoreboard here really quick and read to you what the scores are so far. Off just the game, so far that has happened, the 21-20 victory from the Broncos over the Panthers. We have the matchup so far. We got Team Jake Peter taking on Team Phineapoo, which is me. So far, Team Jake Peter is up 8-0. So far he's up. Then we've got Kangar, DB456, taking on Quebec, Canada, Canada's Peace. And Canada's Peace is up 27-0. They've got the biggest gap so far in the fantasy game, and it's pretty interesting to see what's going on here. Next up, we've got Team Sniper taking on Team Harvey. Team Harvey's up 4-0. That's the closest match that we've got so far. Granted, this is all based on one game so far. We've still got all of tomorrow and all of Monday left for football this week. Next up, we've got Team Wank and somewhere over Dwayne Bowie. So far, Team Wank is up 5-0. So that's also another very close matchup. And then we've got Space Turtles taking on Team Perez. Space Turtles is up 25-8 over Team Perez. And so, yeah, that is what we've got so far. We have very close matchups for the most part, with a couple of quite ahead players so far, or quite ahead games. So that is the update for the fantasy teams. I will keep you updated in every single one of the prediction videos I do. Prediction videos will be up a couple days, typically before, or a day or two before the actual week starts. So usually what I'll do is I'll do the prediction videos on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and I'll let you know when I get that down for sure when those videos will come out. But that is Phineapoo Phorsees. And let me know what you think about this type of video down in the comments section below. I'll be happy to adjust it accordingly. This will be going on through the entire NFL season, all the way through the Super Bowl. I'll do predictions and updates and everything like that. And I will give you updates on the fantasy team as well. And when that winner does come out, I will announce it over a video such as this. And they will win. I will let you know later what exactly they win, depending on who wins. But it will be something awesome, personalized for that person. So, I'm going to go ahead and leave this foretelling here. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe. Also, go onto my Facebook page because I typically post there before I do anything on my channel. Again, thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'm Phineapoo, and I'm signing off. Take care, everybody.